Hello, friends, and welcome to Ditch Witch Diaries. I'm so glad that you've joined us, and as you can see, we have a guest with us this week who is not our usual part of Ditch Witch Diaries. So this is Jenn.
Hello.
And Jenn is going to share later. She's going to be adding on to what I have to say, and then she's also going to be doing her own presentation, and you'll see what the theme of it is in a second. So let's just get cooking. It is poisons and baneful plants, and I'm going to start us off this week with giant hogweed, which I actually got the idea for giant hogweed because when I did Daucus carota, it was one of the plants. We'll talk about this more. It was mentioned in my in a previous show about carrots, which is Daucus carota. So giant hogweed is, and I am so bad at words, but it's Heracleum mantegazzianum. There we go. It's quite the mouthful there. But Heracleum is, it seems like you'll see why it might be called this. So this is what it looks like in the botanical drawing, like the vintage botanical drawing. And this is what it looks like. If you just saw it, you might think, oh, that's like possibly not a very big plant. And then you would be wrong. Because look at that person who, an unfortunate person at that, if they have their hand on that, they should not even be around that plant without full covering. So we're going to talk about this. But look at how tall it is. It is humongous. Like something out of like Jurassic Park or something. I feel like it's like well, we're going to talk about how it's giant. So the other names are giant cow parsnip, cartwheel plant, the hog. Of course, it's called the hog, and Latvānis. So let's see the parts used and don't use it. Okay, so it's really used cautiously and possibly only for magic if you collect it and put it in collect it very carefully and put it in a container very cautiously. You could use it for magic, but I do not it's a very dangerous plant to even be around. So this is the correspondences. And some of these, you know what, the next two correspondences, I kind of cobbled together some of my own UPG, which is unverified personal gnosis. So it's kind of like what I could understand from the plant and what I know about other plants. And anyway, because a lot of these giant plant or baneful or poisonous plants, they resist people resist putting correspondences on them. They aren't like traditionally listed in your books of herbs. So the element is fire. And you know what, I want it to, it's some baneful plants I would not put fire for, but there's a reason why this is definitely associated with fire and with either Mars or the sun. Like I think like it's like fairly aggressive. It's a fairly aggressive plant. So astrological sign though, I would say is Scorpio, because there is something so like like I feel like it feels like you're becoming a fairy when you get near to it. It's like there's something that's so hidden and dark about it, and like kind of even because it's in the carrot family, like almost like watery. There's like something that's like kind of like even though carrots like really has that underground portion that's earthy, like I really feel like there's something like I don't know, it calls you in only to be disastrously dealt with. I would be called into it. That's why. Like it just I desire to be near giant hogweed so bad. Like I want to suit up in full hazmat outfit and like enjoy me some giant hogweed. So the plant information. So these plants are huge. A leaf can be 5 feet wide. So that is like, that's a big plant. Each flower cluster is 2.5 feet in diameter. That's like a flower cluster as big around as as my arms bigger. And it can grow up to 16 feet tall. So that's like triple me. So that's really, really a huge plant. It's monocarpic. So what that means is it's some succulents we have are monocarpic. And what that means is that when it reproduces, like succulents, like agave especially, like they'll shoot up one huge flower stem and then that's it, they die. And like also sometimes they will reproduce like often monocarpic plants will also reproduce cloning, like they'll clone off themselves, like those little like baby clones that clone off, you'll see. So that's like 2 ways that I know succulents reproduce through like little baby clones, but I don't know if that's a monocarpic thing or if that's like the succulents, but I know monocarpic is like one stem and then they do it once and that's it. And so, but it is a perennial herbaceous plant in the carrot family, and Apiaceae, Apiaceae, there we go. Sometimes, so then this is when it came in with this whole carrot thing, right? So because it said like, you don't want to pick wild carrots because they're often confused with very dangerous plants, like a bunch there's not just one. I mean, there's a lot of plants that are dangerous that look like Docus carota and or Queen Anne's lace carrot. But in this instance, I'm like, really, it's like really big. Like, I guess it looks, if you shrunk giant hogweed like down, like with a like Pims, like we were talking about, like in Pims, like or made it grow huge, like that's what it would be. But I just can't see mixing up carrot unless like you were talking about a humongous carrot at the that would be a mighty big carrot at the end of that giant hogweed plant. So it is native. So where it comes from, they think it all comes out of this Caucasus Mountains, like and also then southwestern Asia is where this comes out of. But they are poisonous, as I've hinted at, and they are a weird type of poison. And this is when like Mars and the sun are going to be completely, you're going to get it. Okay, because some of them, I think some poisons are related to Pluto more. Like they're definitely like have other associations. But this one is phototoxic. So this is what happens. So this, if you get this sap on your skin, okay, it will stop the sunlight from it will prevent your skin from stopping sunlight, and it will cause huge blisters, and it can cause blindness in your eyes even, because it will like prevent your skin from, it will make your skin photosensitive to the sun. So, and the initial sensitivity is only like 2 or 3 days sometimes. Okay, because sometimes it can recur later, years later, 20 to 30 years later even. And it can, they're also sometimes like they have other effects that can last, that you're going to see. So the most toxic is when the plant is flowering. It is the most toxic. And some people seem to be able to handle them with no issue. So that's kind of like, I used to know this guy. There's this guy who's a famous herbalist in San Diego County, and he has an herb school out of San Diego County, and I've gone on some of his herb walks. And he is impervious to poison oak. And so he can even eat poison oak. He can touch it, he can rub it around, he can eat it. And, you know, he's just a special guy. I mean, he says he has a relationship with poison oak, so maybe that's the case. You know, maybe if you have but I don't encourage forming a relationship with giant hogweed because it has such disastrous effects. My gosh. It seems unless you're fully clothed, maybe you could form a relationship if you're fully in hazmat gear. So, because another effect is that it can even change your skin color, like where the sap hits it will even like change the color of your skin. It's considered the second most dangerous plant in Switzerland and one of the most dangerous plants in the United Kingdom. Like it it is also a noxious weed, not only in Europe and Switzerland, but it's a noxious weed in America. And in most states where it is a problem, it's illegal to buy it or sell it or transport it or anything, because it is so dangerous. And it's so pretty. It's so wonderful. So like you want to love it. You want to be like a little fairy under this humongous, beautiful plant, which you can't. So because like this is the whole point. Okay, so this is how it became introduced into Europe and America, even they think. Well, we're going to talk about that, but first UK. So it was an ornamental. People brought it into the United Kingdom in the 19th century, and then it escaped the gardens and became naturalized in the wild. Okay, same in North America. They don't know if it was, there's two ways that they think that it could have been introduced and escaped to be naturalized in the wild. So the first part is that it could have been brought here like the same way, like a curiosity, because it was later. So it could have been like, oh, look at this humongous plant, like let's like bring it in as a curiosity. Or possibly they think that the seeds could have been in some sort of Middle Eastern cuisine. There could have been some seeds that were brought in with that as late as 1917 is when this happened. So then we get to the lore, the stories, and the cultural import. So, you know what? I couldn't find anything about that anybody even said about it. It's probably because it's so dangerous. So, are there none? This is what people, literally everybody, every resource said, no folklore, only warnings. Like that was like a quote. Like that's where, like, so even so in Latvia, I could find like one story in Latvia, and it was kind of a warning as well about it. And it was that it can only be handled safely at night. But even then, like, be careful, because if it gets on your skin, you're screwed for the next couple days and maybe 20, 30 years down the road. But they have like they say that you can go out at night and harvest it, because of course then you won't, if you get it on you, it's not going to burn you immediately. But how would you know? It seems mighty dangerous even at night. And then there's this, and I'm going to read the whole thing. Okay? Welcome to a song by Genesis. Hello, Genesis. If any of you like Genesis, here we go. And I'm going to read it because I think we get in copyright trouble if I start playing this online. But I'm going to read you, and I'm going to give references to who wrote it. So this band, it's called Return of the Giant Hogweed. Okay, somebody wrote a song about giant hogweed. So let's listen to what they have to say. Turn and run. It opens with turn and run. Nothing can stop them. Around every river and canal, their power is growing. Stamp them out. We must destroy them. They infiltrate each city with their thick, dark, warning odor. They are invincible. They seem immune to all our herbicidal battering. Long ago in the Russian hills, a Victorian explorer found the regal hogweed by a marsh. He captured it and brought it home. Botanical creature stirs, seeking revenge. Royal beast did not forget. He came home to London and made a present of the hogweed to the royal gardens at Kew. Waste no time, that they are approaching. Hurry now, we must protect ourselves and find some shelter. Strike by night, there you go. They are defenseless. They all need sun to photosensitize. Their venom, still they're invincible. Still they're immune to all our herbicidal battering. Fashionable country gentlemen. had some cultivated wild gardens in which they innocently planted the giant hogweed throughout the land. Botanical creature stirs, seeking revenge. Royal beast did not forget. Soon they escaped, spreading their seed, preparing for an onslaught, threatening the human race. Mighty hogweed is avenged. Human bodies soon will know our anger. Kill them with your hogweed hairs. Heracleum mantegazzianum. Mantegazziani. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Genesis really did it. Wow. And you know what? The Royal Gardens at Kew are going to feature again in a couple days. We're going to talk about the Royal Gardens at Kew with my other herb this week. So, the magical properties. It is called the noblest of umbellifers. And umbels are those little, when you have like one stalk and then a bunch of the little stems come up from it, and then you have little flowers on each. That's an umbel. And I kept calling it umbrel, and it's an umbel. So this is the noblest, probably because it's big. It looks pretty noble. So then I kind of, again, a lot of UPG here, because let me tell you, nobody is talking about magic possibilities. So I would say it makes sun energy painful and traumatic. So it would ruin somebody's like personal personhood. If you used, I would say if you used hogweed, if you had a jar of hogweed, for example, let's just like for shits and giggles, let's say I received a jar that was filled with hogweed that said do not open no matter what, it's very dangerous and poisonous, and somebody had dried some giant hogweed. What if I use that against somebody? I would say that it would make their whole personhood like painful and traumatic, because what's like your sun sign? It's your sun energy, it's your solar plexus, and it would become very traumatic and painful. But it's very strong. So it's a strong, hardy plant that's resist herbicides. So resist everybody trying to kill you. Imposing power with weaponry. It has lots of good weapons at your command. So maybe weapons that people can't even see. Strength with weapons that people can't see. And of course, glamoury, because it's looking so much like a fairyland, so much like you want to play amongst the giant hogweed, and so much that's a mistake. So glamoury also, it's so much, it's glamoury over another that entrances so thoroughly that it hides this horrible danger. And I would say that it would be a totem plant to people that were labeled a pest. So if you've gone around in your life and you've ever been labeled a pest, obviously I might have been in my life. I don't know, exactly. It's one of those names that us neurodivergent girls collect, like obnoxious, too loud, inappropriate. Wait, what's the other one I loved? When you're just aloof. Aloof is always my favorite. But I think a pest is one that you're labeled. And I think giant hogweed is labeled a pest as well. So giant hogweed definitely knows what it's like to be labeled a pest. It's obviously associated with giants. So if you're working with giants or you are a giant, you might consider that giant hogweed might be for you. And again, counter magic. Okay, so like I was talking about, like that whole thing about like turning against somebody else, turning their magic against them and making their whole personhood like ugly to them, like revenge or something. So this is the few little resources that I got. And so let me just turn that, like I said, as you can see, not very many things. Uh-oh, stop share. Oh, the next. So we're back, and as you can see, some of these poisons don't have a lot of resources. People haven't been writing about them, so I'm glad to start changing that. And goodbye. Hello, giant hogweed. I hope you enjoyed giant hogweed as much as I did.